AI talk show where we discuss the news, share insight, bring guests from industry, take questions, and involve you in the conversation. AI is having an impact on our businesses, our lives, our society, and everything around us. As leaders in the industry, it's our responsibility to jump in and be a part of the discussion. So let's start the conversation. I'm your host, Asha Saxena, CEO of Women Leaders in Data and AI. In today's episode, we will discuss AI and consumer experience. AI's ability to impact our consumer experience has a largest impact on not just how we consume, but it's also our experience of consuming. Our experience in consuming online or retail has a big impact on how we interact with each other or with a product we buy. Consumers are always going to look for information to support their buying decisions. We're always looking for quick, accurate information. And we are now living in the world of personalization, how we can create and produce product that can be personalized to you and me. What a better way for artificial intelligence to step in and be effective. To discuss AI and consumer experience, we have actually one of the thought leader here, Sowmya Gotipatti, who's the head of global supply chain technology at Estée Lauder. But not only at Estée Lauder, Sowmya has spent decades of experience in learning about experiencing technology in consumer behavior. So Sowmya, welcome to the AI Talk Show.
Thank you, Asha. Glad to be here. Really excited to be part of this conversation.
You know, when we talk about AI, there's so much buzz about AI, and there's so much buzz about what artificial intelligence can do for mankind in general. But I think personalization is one of the largest impact, which all of us are really looking forward to, if it's in healthcare, education, or in retail experiences. And I think marketing and retail has always really jumped into technology and tried embracing technology and making consumer experience effective. We are in the world where consumer development teams are working with structured and unstructured data. And we understand that artificial intelligence is actually engaging with data unlike before. And a lot of CX teams who are entering this era and is working with AI is learning to deal with the human engagement like never before. And we did work with building the experience better, but now with the help of AI, we can truly create the change. And in fact, recently the IBM did a survey, close to 1,000, I think it was about 1,200 CX executives that spoke about how important AI is going to play a role in the future of consumer engagement. And Sowmya, you've spent a lot of time learning about what consumer needs in the retail, and especially the, I would say, cosmetic or brand, beauty brands. What are you seeing the impact AI can have in understanding their consumers now than historically how the beauty brands engage with their audience?
You know, AI is having such a transformational effect or impact on the beauty industry, and it goes in like many different areas, right? Like you talked a lot about consumer experience, which is like how we are enhancing our consumer experience with technology and real life applications, personalization. And the AI is also being used in creating new products such as, you know, skincare and fragrance. So it can actually go into the formulations and how we can come up with new products. So it's had like, I mean, typically people don't think of such an advanced technology such as AI when it comes to beauty industry, but when you actually, you know, look into it, there are so many areas where AI is being applied across our industry in various forms. Yeah, starting with consumer experience and also consumer insights. Like I said, you know, consumer data, we can actually personalize their experiences quite a bit. And of course, there is a lot of back end, such as, you know, our inventory optimization, making sure our products reach our consumers on time and, you know, with the speed and agility and sustainably and all those aspects of it.
You know, I love that beauty industry can really personalize how people can look and feel, right? The way beauty industry influences consumers on how they want to reflect and be creative in reflecting their own personality. I don't think another industry can create that kind of impact on self. Being in beauty industry, I feel now having the avatars or having the virtual experience of really testing and trying your skincare or your makeup or how you want to present or project is going to really be interesting. So when you talk about AI in personalization of, you touched upon fragrance or customer insights. Can you give some example and especially as a leader in the industry when you are working with vendors, you must see a lot of AI technology, new budding technologies coming out. What has surprised you personally, or what has impacted you where you think this could be a big aha moment for the industry?
So I think, yeah, for me, one of the most fascinating areas when I joined Estée Lauder was especially when we talk about providing high touch service to our consumers. Typically when you talk about personalization, broadly speaking, we all think about, when you go on a website, how they, based on your spending patterns or buying patterns, they give you recommendations, or you watch a Netflix, it gives you recommended shows. And you think of that as a personalization. But then in our industry, personalization means entirely different, which is, we are actually personalizing our products and how they look and feel on consumer skin or consumer's face. So we really taking the personalization to the next level. So some of the products, some of the technological advances that we have made in this area are, virtual try-on. For example, you can try 30 shades of lipstick in 30 seconds because of it. What made it possible? It's the combination of AI and augmented reality, where you actually don't have to try the product physically, but virtually you can try it so quickly, and you can actually play with it and have fun with it, and you can personalize it for the occasion, etc., etc. Same thing with skincare. We can actually look at the skin virtually and understand what the concerns are, provide recommendations and a regimen on what can take care of your redness, dryness, whatever that may be. And the most recent one that I am personally very, very excited and I was very involved is with respect to fragrance. Now, we cracked the code on makeup and skincare, but we didn't really crack the code on fragrance for quite some time. So when my boss came to me and said, I want you to think about, similar virtual try on for fragrance, go come back with a solution. So that was the, pivotal moment for me, where we worked with another startup out of Silicon Valley to came up with a solution of combining AI, facial recognition, or more of emotion recognition, and neuroscience, combining all three science aspects of it, and came up with an idea on when you smell a fragrance, your brain reacts a certain way. So based on that, you can develop a fingerprint for every fragrance. And then based on how your emotion shows up on your face, we can tell how much you like the particular fragrance. And based on that, we can recommend other fragrances. It goes very deep into science on that aspect in that, but without going into deeper. So some of those things are very, very fascinating and exciting. These are some of the breakthrough technologies, if you will, or ideas, if you will. Yeah, that's something that we have implemented and piloted, last year.
When we talk about personalization, I think one of the great examples, which I was fascinated by personalized experiences, were 23andMe. When you can figure out, your genetic history, and you could now know where you're coming from. And I think so people were so fascinated by that. And I think that was a great example of personalization. I love your example about, creating your own perfume or your own fragrance. It truly is an example of personalized shopping. We never really thought that I could create a personalized fragrance. And another great personalized shopping experience is also the color shades, right? When you think about
Right.
what foundation or what is the color match technology can do for me, creates a really interesting use case for beauty brands. A few other examples which I came across were like AI powered assistants, where you can have a chatbot or a digital human who can actually be an assistant to you,
Yeah.
or fraud prevention, or creating some kind of a creative smart content. When we talk about generative AI, some of the examples I've seen, an organization called Write, which actually uses generative AI for you to help create marketing messages for your consumers, which I think is really interesting. So there's a lot of examples that I feel that beauty industries can actually take advantage of, from which allows facial mapping or skin analysis, or more personalized recommendation for skincare or possible treatments. So not only it's making you look good, but also feel good, and also improve how you present to the world, which is really, really interesting. But when I think about digital humans, one thing that pops in my head, and especially being, running women leaders organization where we stand for the mission of bringing women at the table and creating a fair digital world, I feel that the beauty industry truly can take a lead on that, where they can really, with digital human, can create a diverse cultural experience. You can have all shapes and form available as a digital presence, where maybe we can cover the lack of diversity in retail organization as a fair topic. Do you feel that you can envision a time with a wider usage of digital human across many industries, hopefully solving this issue of diversity and creating the representation? Have you seen or experienced digital human coming in play to create that value add for organization?
Sure, absolutely. I think it's just a part of the natural evolution. For example, when you look at the models that we use, whether it's my industry or any other industry, it's historically one type of models. But in the last several years, the diversity has improved, and most organizations have taken the next step of making sure there is a diversity in the models that they use. Like, I'm talking about real models, right? But now with the digital, and then, by the way, there have been instances in the last year or two, we have actually put out some marketing experiences out there with digital form of an influencer. So when you are on a app or a site, etc., you can actually interact with the influencer, which is real influencer, but their digital avatar was the one that's online, for example, right? So we're kind of replicating the real humans into digital avatars in the digital world. And so as part of the natural evolution, it becomes actually AI and avatars makes it so much easier to improve the diversity aspect of it. And I think we can create, I was reading some article somewhere where I'm buying something, and the avatar I'm interacting with, or a help desk that I'm in, the chatbot that I'm interacting with, could look like me. I think that probably, makes me, feel like I could relate to it, or, you could actually on the fly, I can envision the technology where you can create an avatar on the fly based on the consumer that is interacting with your site at that moment. So I think it opens up a lot of possibilities. And with AI, Asha, you have seen this, and you have extensive experience in this area. Data plays a huge role for us, right? AI is all about training models, so that is something that we take very, very seriously. So with our data scientists, we want to make sure when we train the models, we take all ethnicities and all shapes and forms of human faces are used to train the model, so that our models are not biased one way or the other, because we are a global company. We serve all sorts of consumers, all forms, shapes and forms of consumers. So we make sure though that data is fed into the models, right? Same thing with the avatars. Also, we need to be very careful about not stereotyping. As an example, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud here, because I am a Indian brown shade. do I want a very similar avatar? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. So you want to make sure you don't want to get into that stereotype and just to push it on the consumer. So you want to, it's a delicate subject, and I think we all have to move forward very carefully on this aspect of it.
Yeah, I think truly understanding what your consumer really want and having the right insight of understanding, can they relate to the product and can they relate to the avatar, and make sure that you're serving the consumer that they want to be served. And I think that's the power of AI, is doing doing the work behind the scene to understand what the consumer needs are. So you understand what you serve, how you serve your consumer that can relate to you more effectively. You know, a lot of people get really frustrated when they're getting bombarded with the ads. But if it was really truly helping you save time and decide quickly, then it's fine. So I think there is a balance which you need to create to make sure that you're serving your audience the way they want to be served. The biggest challenge
At the
in
end of at the end of the day, I think it's the value that you bring to the table for the consumer, right? It's primarily it's with your product and the effectiveness of your product. You want to make sure you convey that, and because you actually want to help the consumer look beautiful, feel confident, and all of that. And you achieve that not only primarily with your products, but also with the avatar or the influencer that you're yeah working with.
As we talk about, we kind of covered personalization, and we spoke about digital human, but I'm really curious about what you touched slightly on, is the product formulation. Can you talk a little bit more about how AI can truly help in product formulation? And that really reflect not only on beauty brands, but that could really impact on any kind of product formulation. It could be chemical industry, it could be a pharmaceutical industry. So can you talk a little bit about how, because that is really intriguing, because especially in healthcare, pharma companies could also focus on product formulation based upon what the consumer needs are.
Absolutely. I mean, since I'm not expert on the pharma side, I wouldn't talk about that, but I'll use the fragrance as an example. Every fragrance or any fragrance might have, I don't know, 100 ingredients, right? Some are minute amounts and some are larger amounts. It varies, right? So it's the combination of different ingredients that creates that smell, right? So today, as a human, you can only test for so many formulations. I don't know what the exact number is, but there is a limitations to what our human nose can test and figure out what the right smell is, right scent is. Whereas a machine with AI, it can actually test million formulations and 10 million combinations instantly, and based on that you can make decisions faster, or you can actually mix those things right in the store, in front of the consumer, depending on the occasion, depending on what they like and all that kind of stuff. That really, and also taking the consumer data and what the past preferences are and all of that, right? Consumer insights, etc. You can decide which products do well, and based on that, you come up with the different combinations. Increase this ingredient by 10%, decrease the other ingredient by 20%. You can play with a lot of combinations and come up with a few that actually make sense, that you think would be successful. I think AI would play a huge role in providing that kind of recommended successful formulas. So that's one area I think it's going to take off in the next couple of years. I see a potential for a huge growth opportunity there. And the same concept applies to pharma or any other product too, but I just use fragrance as an example.
Absolutely. No, I think anything which is AI powered, AI can parse data more quickly and accurately. So we can use that in any industry because of the power AI brings in processing data, which is really critical. You are the global supply chain, you're the global head of supply chain technology. And when we talk about supply chain, the one thing which stands out is the demand forecasting. And demand forecasting is very, very important for retailers, because they want to make sure that the supply chain doesn't get interrupted. And traditional demand forecasting was always time series. Trying to understand what the buying patterns are. And over time, what kind of trend or seasons impact, so you can understand. But what really interesting happened during COVID was COVID really hampered a lot of our predictions. It kind of put us in a loop to understand what we really need to, or how we need to really create the demand or understand the demand. So I feel like, do you feel that artificial intelligence can be employed to build sophisticated algorithm to accurately predict, especially the volatile customer demands, and help retailer to optimize in buying or distribution or even prices? What is the right price or price predictions or promotions? And how have you seen AI being used, especially in demand forecasting?
Right. I wouldn't say accurately forecast, but AI can certainly improve the accuracy in the forecasting. So like company like ours, a global company, the demand forecasting is extremely complex because we have large number of products, SKUs, we call it. And now you have to forecast them at the volume of each of the product across 25 brands and across 6 regions, and with so many affiliates, by the market, by the country, and sometimes even to the door level. That becomes a very, very complicated math. And so and we try our best today. And there are some areas where we actually use some of the AI models, both the statistical as well as AI models, to take all the consumer insights data, that's more of a forward-looking consumer insights, as well as the past, the sales data, etc. Take all of that into account and convert that into some kind of a forecast model and feed that. And it's the forecast that drives the rest of the supply chain, right? Because it's the forecast that drives manufacturing, that drives our suppliers, that drives the transportation and the sales and everything else. So it's extremely important that we get the forecast right, although it can never be 100% right. I think it's probably impossible to get forecast 100% right. But we with AI, I think we improve significantly, and it reduces the risk as much as possible with using AI models. And you mentioned something else during the conversation, that is consumer demand. Like, because of the pandemic and post-pandemic, now the demand is a lot more volatile. Consumer needs and preferences are shifting much more rapidly. That means we as a company need to be very agile and resilient to reacting to these demands, or being able to adjust our manufacturing or distribution, transportation, all these different things to meet consumer demand. So it's very important. So to me, another area is digital twins is an area where AI would play a huge role. That is, if we can actually model our supply chain process as a digital twin, then we could see where the processes can be improved or broken. And then if there is a disruption, for example, when the Suez Canal got blocked, just as an example, then, okay, if such an interruption happens, what happens to our rest of the supply chain? So we can model those kinds of things, model what if scenarios, and then build plan B, plan C kind of, plans have those plans in place to be able to, still meet the consumer demand and not impact our huge operations significantly. Yeah, I think that's where the huge opportunity is.
Absolutely. No, as you're talking about, different aspects of AI to be used in demand generation, which is such a critical piece of any retail business. I think there's all these use cases, from personalization or digital human or demand generation. There are many use cases that AI can truly help businesses take advantage of. As I think about examples, the denim clothing company, Levi, they are testing AI fashion models with different skin colors, ages, and body type. And they're partnering with a Dutch digital fashion firm called LaLaLand.ai to present hyper-realistic models. So companies are partnering with vendors or other AI organizations to see how they can advertise especially Levi is looking at advertising each clothing item with one human model. And in the future, they're thinking about showcasing products using body inclusive avatar, which we were talking about diversity, and really thinking, letting the customers be able to pick an avatar that represents their physique, expression, and individual poses. It's really trying to relate to the consumer. And I truly believe that maybe AI will never fully replace human models for the company, but having digital option of having digital model will create some kind of personal and inclusive shopping experience. And another really great example, which I came across, was Walmart. They're using AI to impact and improve their customer experiences, and they're actually creating and developing conversation AI capabilities. And I think that conversation AI has been used in many industries, but Walmart is using it to create the multi-layered solution, so they can actually span across several areas of their business to support customers, members, associates, drivers, and market sellers. And I think this kind of trend where consumers or the retail industries are using the voice shopping or chatbots to really engage with their consumer to give a better consumer experience is what artificial intelligence really truly helps us, and help remove the biases or help create the relatability is really what I think the AI promises to bring to this industry. As we close the show, any last thoughts on, if somebody's hesitant to use AI, what would you say, and why should they jump in and engage with AI as a retail organization?
I think possibilities are unlimited for AI. I think for you to survive and compete in the world going forward, you have to look into the technologies such as AI to push yourself further, and otherwise you will be left behind compared to your competition. So if you want to survive, if you want to advance, you got to use AI models, in all the aspects that we just talked about, from consumer experiences to back-end operations to help desk to, you name it.
I agree.
It's, yeah.
I could agree more. I talk about really thinking of jumping in is important. Working with technology is really important. Engaging with technology, the understanding how it can really help is really important, but really thinking about the value it can bring you. Start right and understand where you are, and then learn about how you can be ready to use and create the value. Business value comes first, and building the AI flywheel. I talk about really understanding the problem first, what you're solving, what the value it brings, and then think about what data you need, the right set of data that can create the value for you. So really think about how you're going to build your AI flywheel within your organization, with keeping the business and value on top of your mind. So Sowmya, thank you so much for joining. I always have a pleasure talking to you. I wish you all the best with everything you are doing with your organization in AI. And thank you for joining us today, everyone who's listening. It's really important that you engage with AI. Send us notes, ask us questions. We will try to cover that in our next episode. We look forward to bringing you more thought-provoking discussions, cutting-edge news, expert insights in our industries, from our industry in next episode. Please go to the LinkedIn to subscribe and follow. Also, check out the links and resources that are in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you share this and share it in the social media, or share it with somebody you care about. And that's all for this episode. I'm your host, Asha Saxena. This is the AI Talk Show. See you next time.